Hello everyone and welcome to Evanston Climate Action News. This is a new program that we are hosting to try to convey all the different things that we are up to, all the different events and all the ways that you can get involved. When we think about Climate Action Evanston, the action in Climate Action Evanston stands for serve, educate, and advocate. So that's direct community services like our repair cafes or tree planting. That's educational opportunities such as making public presentations and tabling at events. And that's advocacy, to pass the type of policies we need to act on the climate crisis and to then implement those policies, working with our community, working with our decision makers. But the key piece of those things is that education, that middle pillar of our 3 pillars of climate action. And that's because if you don't know about community services happening near you, if you don't know about the advocacy issues that are affecting your life, how can you affect them? How can you take advantage of those services? So this program exists to try and, in a little bit more of a snappy form, get all the information that you need to know, provide what's going on in the world of local climate action. So let's start with a little recap of June. We started off in June with a presentation down in South Suburban Markham. We went down there to visit the Indian Boundary Prairies and the Nature Conservancy's Youth Environmental Thinkers program. And there we talked to the Youth Environmental Thinkers interns about social infrastructure for climate action, which is how do we organize ourselves within our community to make the kind of changes to the built environment, to the natural environment that we need to address the climate crisis. So thank you to the Nature Conservancy and Dr. Deborah Williams for inviting us down there in early June. Then we had our interns start just a week later. We've got 7 interns here working at Climate Action Evanston this summer. They're all inside right now. We're here at our office in downtown Evanston. And it's been such an enormous increase in our capacity to have these interns and to be able to have them help on various community projects that are going on. Check out our social media to see all the things that our interns have been up to. One of the first things that we had our interns work on was a dumpster diving project or dumpster data project over at Northwestern University. Every year, hundreds of pieces of perfectly good furniture, tables, electronics are thrown out during Northwestern Move Out. And what we wanted to do this year was to at least start collecting data to bring awareness to this issue. Right now, there's really no other option for those students to adequately throw away or recycle or reuse these items. And so we wanted to collect this data, and we will be putting out a report and an article in the roundtable published by our high school interns in the coming weeks. So make sure you look out for that. Then our interns went over to the Climate Innovation Summit in downtown Chicago. Special thanks to Evanston Cradle to Career staff, in particular Baxter Swilly, for inviting us down to that event. Our interns had a fantastic time learning from world-class speakers about issues of clean energy, sustainable agriculture, and waste. Then we had Climate Action Evanston's biggest and most exciting event of the year. Of course, I'm talking about our Summer Solstice Jam in partnership with Full Moon Jam. This was our 4th year sponsoring this event over at Arrington Lagoon. The city of Evanston really helps us put this event on. And we had close to 1,000 participants sitting around the lake watching fire performances. And we had a great opportunity to talk with many of the participants about all the great things that we are doing at Climate Action Evanston. So thanks to all those who came out to this year's Solstice Jam, and we will see you next year during the summer solstice. Then we went to Caravelli Montessori School on June 25th. That was an event organized by Verna Todd, a resident at 3 Crowns Park. This was an awesome event that Verna put together. She realized that 3 Crowns Park, the senior living facility in North Evanston, is about to undergo a major renovation. And so she decided to invite the 3 Crowns staff, including the staff of Covenant Living, which is the healthcare company that owns 3 Crowns Park, to come see one of the most sustainable buildings in Evanston. And if you haven't been to the Montessori School, it's right over near Dempster and Hinman. This school has solar arrays, geothermal wells underneath the basketball courts, advanced window technology, advanced temperature controls, and it's a really great example of how buildings can not only be energy efficient, but also healthy for the tenants, which in this case are young students. So thanks so much to Verna Todd for organizing that event and for inviting Climate Action Evanston and our staff. Then we had about the wildest sustainability Saturday that I've ever seen. We went to 5 different events over the course of Saturday, June 28th. We came into Evanston, we started off at our farmers market. We saw our climate action coaches who were talking to residents about community solar. Check them out at the farmers market, at upcoming farmers markets. Then we rode our bikes over to the food forest, the Eggleston Park Food Forest, to talk with Edible Evanston volunteers about all the delicious berries that are coming into season right now. Then we went over to the Evanston Recycles event over at Evanston Township High School, talked to Brian Zimmerman, the city's solid waste coordinator, about that event that the city does every year in partnership with the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County, aka SWANC. That event had a ton of participants getting rid of electronics, paper, medicine, so thanks to the city of Evanston and SWANC for organizing that event. Then we went just down the road to our own Hard to Recycle event, which was capturing materials that the city was not capturing at their event, which included things like bikes, hazardous paint materials, batteries, and that was put together by our Beyond Waste program. So thank you to our volunteers in Beyond Waste for putting on that event. And a big thank you to our interns who showed up to actually help process all of those materials, help people unload their cars, and get those materials to where they could be properly disposed of. But that wasn't it. That was 4 events. We had one more event. We had to go join our partners at Evanston Transit Alliance down at the Main Street Fair. Always a fantastic time. One of the biggest events in Evanston during the summer. But our partners over at the Evanston Transit Alliance were talking to fair attendees about our new Chicago Avenue Coalition. And that is our coalition that we have put together in support of the Chicago Avenue Bike Lane Project and in support of making Chicago Avenue, Evanston's premier north-south commercial and transportation corridor, into a complete and safe street for pedestrians, for cyclists, for those in wheelchairs and who need accessibility, to all of the different stores and transit lines that we have along Chicago Avenue. So that was just one Saturday in the world of climate action. Finally, all throughout the month, we've had different committee meetings, our development committee, our communications committee. If you have any experience fundraising and want to support Climate Action Evanston, we could certainly use your help as part of our development committee. You can always reach out to us at info@climateactionevanston.org. Similarly, we have our communications committee made up of some great communications professionals. If you want to support projects like this and how we convey important climate information to our community, please support us with the communications committee. And we also had 3 of our coalitions meet during June. Our Chicago Avenue Coalition, which we just mentioned, our Environmental Justice Coalition, which we do in partnership with a number of local organizations like the NAACP North Shore Branch, the League of Women Voters, and Interfaith Action Evanston. And finally, we had our new Youth Climate Coalition, which is going to be a new venue by which all of the different student and youth groups throughout Evanston can coordinate and find projects for youth involvement. That was just 1 month here at Climate Action Evanston. Now let's go over to what's happening this next month here in July. Our Natural Habitat Evanston group, in collaboration with a few other local organizations, are hosting a bee walk over at Woodworth Prairie in Glenview. So check that out. That is on July 26th. And then our Edible Evanston group has its second beginner gardening class happening on July 31st at Robert Crown. So if you're a beginner gardener, you're trying to understand when's the best time to plant, how do you do the weeding, how do you prepare your garden for future years, this is a great place to talk to some experts and get some really important information about having your own garden at home. Then we have a number of recurring events happening throughout July that you should check out. First off, our Natural Habitat Evanston group is currently looking for people in the 2nd and 5th Ward who would like to host trees in their yards or near their houses. This is our 2nd and 5th Ward tree program. All of these trees would be planted, given to you and planted for free. So check out the Natural Habitat Evanston website if you're interested in having a tree in your yard. We also have our food forest work days, which are every Saturday at the Eggleston Park Food Forest. That's right by Simpson and McCormick. Check out our Edible Evanston website for more information. And speaking of Edible Evanston, we also have the food sharing program. So this is where gardeners from around Evanston, if they have extra local produce, can put that produce in coolers located around Evanston, and that produce will go to local partners like Connections for the Homeless, making sure that those who rely on food pantries and community fridges don't just have canned and processed food, but have fresh local food that they can eat. So check out the food sharing program on the Edible Evanston website. Of course, we also have our repair cafes happening at Robert Crown Library through our Beyond Waste program in partnership with the Evanston Public Library. Be sure to check out the library's website and our own website for the list of those dates. We also have recurring climate action coaches at the Evanston Farmers Market. So every Saturday, you can go talk to some climate action coaches, learn how you can get involved with community solar and how you can make energy efficiency investments at your own home. And finally, throughout the month, our Climate Action Evanston interns, we've got some high school interns, college interns, even an MBA intern. They are going to be helping on a number of community events. One of those events will be working on some repurposing and processing of all the bikes that get left behind every year at Northwestern. So thanks to Northwestern for letting us know about that opportunity. We're working with an organization, Working Bikes, from Chicago, to get all those bikes processed and to make sure that they're getting put back to good use here in Evanston, here in Chicago. And if you have any items, any community projects that you need help with, feel free to reach out to us at info@climateactionevanston.org, and we can see how our interns might be able to help you out with a project near you. Finally, that's all we have as far as upcoming events, but be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and to stay tuned to Evanston Climate Action News broadcasts like this to learn how you can get involved. And we'll leave you with our advice that we give everyone. The biggest place that you can have a climate impact is right in the spaces that you inhabit. Think about how you can influence your family, your neighborhood, your block, your coworkers, perhaps the community organizations that you are in, to act more sustainably, to take greater climate actions. That is where you can have the biggest impact on the global climate crisis. So, we'll see you next time on Evanston Climate Action News.